Well, it was a little bit random, as things like that usually are. So I started at Rockwell Collins, was the first place I worked, and we did all kinds of digital communications, and one of them was satellite, and I got peripherally involved in that. From there, I learned about a company called Linkabit, which was in San Diego, and was really involved in satellite communications very heavily, not exclusively, but heavily in coding and modulation, and I liked it, and I guess I was pretty good at it. I think people tend to gravitate towards things that they are good at and that they like. And so I did that for 6 or 7 years there, and then started Viasat, and with two of my colleagues two of my co-workers from Linkabit. And we thought about other names that were broader, but we ended up with Viasat, which I think is indicative of what we thought we'd work on. And we had good contacts there. And from once we started Viasat, which was almost 30 years ago, from then on it was immersion in the satellite industry. Oh yeah, I see more opportunities in satellite now than ever before, for both the industry as a whole and for us. And we still are doing new things. The way I look at it is everything that we've done so far has created a platform for what we can do in the future. And I think that the internet as a connectivity medium is maybe the biggest thing that's happened in the world. And satellite is just getting started in there. So I think the opportunities are greater than they've ever been, despite the heights that the satellite industry has reached already. I think there's a lot more upside to go. One thing that we've worked on that's had the most impact in making the world a better place by satellite is the Viasat-1 project that we started back in 2008. And up until then, Viasat had been just a technology provider. So we provided technology solutions to other satellite operators. But in doing Viasat-1, we wanted to make a big impact. And what we did was we a lot of people looked at it as bet the company. We invested a total of $500 million in a satellite system that was going to have more than 10 times more bandwidth than anything that had been done before. And the idea was to show, one, is that bandwidth was a value proposition, and that as a satellite operator, if you took the risk and created all that bandwidth, that there was demand for it and that people would attribute value to that. And we did that in the consumer segment, which has been good because we've connected people to the internet that otherwise would not be at speeds that they wouldn't get. We're doing it in places like in the air for in-flight Wi-Fi, and that's an area where there's lots of demand for in-flight Wi-Fi, but we're also making connectivity possible in geographic locations that it's never been really economical to do before. And I don't think that's the ultimate answer, but I think it was indicative of a direction that the satellite industry can go that can have great impact on the world. And I think people will look back at Viasat-1 and say, wow, that was really one of the main ways that the industry knew that this was going to be a worthwhile place to invest in all dimensions. Yeah, so that's a really good question. And one thing I think is, let's say, go back to 1980, 1985, sort of when you think of a young person compared to me, where that would have been in my career. And back then, if somebody had said, direct-to-home satellite TV is going to be a big deal, and satellite is going to have a huge role in the spread of video and television around the world, boy, somebody could have done really well with that, and a lot of people did. So I think, what is it that you tell people today? And I think it's the internet, is that think of the internet as being the medium that's going to surpass video broadcasting in relevance to a lot of people around the world. And it's going to be the way that people get their entertainment. And what's important about that in the satellite industry is the way you build satellites, the way you think about the entire systems is very different in a unicast environment, where you're sending data to one person, than it is in a broadcast environment, where the idea is, how can I attract many, many millions of people to my platform? So that changes a lot of what has made the satellite industry successful so far. And so those kinds of changes often are best done by young people who really don't know another world. And that would be my advice, is to think about how different satellites would be if what you're doing was building for the internet the way that we built for video and TV 30, 40 years ago.